hits just keep on coming. These division by division NBA season previews keep rolling right along. Hopefully you guys are enjoying them at least somewhat. It feels a little awkward to be talking more about NBA on this channel, but hey, time for growth and change and a diversification of the content portfolio. So I've already talked about the Central Division and the Atlantic Division. Make sure you check out those videos on this channel. After you check out this one, smash that subscribe button, click the bell, what the hell, so that way you're notified of future videos. So without further ado, let's take a look at the NBA's Southeast Division and what I think is going to happen in this season to come. MJ, the player you associated with championships and winning and consistent excellence and greatness. MJ, the owner, you associate with ineptitude and cellar dwelling and basement dwelling and habitual lottery team. And that's what the Charlotte Hornets are. You know, and what really has to be bad for Hornets fans, I would think, is you're staring down the barrel of you no longer have Kemba Walker. So you're kind of resetting. You got one more year left. You're about to get free from under that Nicholas Batum onerous contract. You're thinking one more season, out from under it. It's going to free up a lot of money. You know, you've got this third overall pick, so you're going to have a chance at potentially getting a marquee franchise player in the draft. Like, just be patient, and it'll work out okay. And then you see Mike gives Gordon Hayward a crap ton of guaranteed money over way too many damn years. How about 5 years and give him even more money than you were giving Batum? Like, can you blame Hornets fans for freaking out about that one? That's not to say Gordon Hayward sucks. And it's not to say that the Hornets in the position that they're in don't have to potentially overpay for guys in order to get them to come to a place like a Charlotte. That certainly also holds true. But really, Gordon Hayward? That's where you chose to invest $30+ million a year for the next half decade and guaranteed, I think, pretty much all of it? Yikes. I mean, now that you brought in Gordon Hayward, you bring him into a young core. You got guys like P.J. Washington and Graham and Terry Rozier. You know, so you can't say that the Hornets have absolutely nothing, but just how good is that something that they actually have? You know, I think when you look at this team, it's all about LaMelo Ball this year. You get the kid, third overall in the draft. Like, he has bust potential for sure. Maybe more notable bust potential than some of the other guys that may have been drafted after him. But his ceiling and his upside is franchise-changing point guard, you know, all-league type of talent. So it's a wide spectrum of what LaMelo Ball could be. But for the Hornets, they absolutely made the right decision. You have to take him and you have to gamble on the upside. You know, he brings at least some sizzle to an organization that really desperately, badly needs it in the here and now. And when I look at this team, I still think they're not very good. I don't think they're much improved from last year, even bringing a Gordon Hayward in. I think they're more of a 25 to 27 win team, honestly. But let me ask you this, Hornets fans, if you're going to be mad at me for picking your team to finish last in this division when they finished third last year. You know, what do you expect me to say when Washington improved? When Atlanta certainly improved, and I don't know that Charlotte did all that much. Furthermore, which would you rather have? Would you rather have this Hornets team maybe win 32, 34 games and maybe have a chance at getting into the playoffs while LaMelo Ball doesn't do much? Or would you rather win 25 games but LaMelo Ball looks like he's the real deal and he's a future superstar? I know what I would take. I would take the second option all day. Who cares about the 8th seed in the playoffs? You're just going to get bounced quickly. Give me the development of the guy that can change the franchise long term and figure out the other stuff later. But that said, this Hornets team, if nothing else because of LaMelo, will be more exciting this year. But I still don't think they're going to be very good. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. The Orlando Magic are a nice, scrappy, try hard, play hard, do the best they can type of team. And that's why they made it to the playoffs last year. And, you know, that's why they weren't just an easy out or a sweep out of the playoffs. Like, they even won a game over the 1-seed Bucks, right? I mean, so it wasn't all bad for the Magic last year. They had a good showing, and, if you're a Magic fan, maybe you feel like there's a reason for optimism that they could take another step forward this upcoming season, although I personally don't really see it. Vucevic is their top player. He's a star. He's not a franchise player, but, he's like a Jokic light. He's a guy that can average 19 or 20 a game, maybe a little more in terms of the points category depending on the night. He can give you double-digit rebounds. He's legit. And you saw it in the playoffs, I think, that he played like a legit dude. It's good to see because a few years ago in his career, he was battling against some injuries and so forth. But he's their star. And they've surrounded him with some kind of what I would call higher-end role players like Fournier and Ross and Aaron Gordon. Not star players, not real difference makers, but guys that are really good, like higher-end role players. It was also nice to see this past season Markelle Fultz start to flash something, start to show something, and, kind of overcome the disaster that was Philadelphia and his time there as the #1 overall pick. It's legitimately good to see. I don't like to see young kids like that fail. I like to see somebody take advantage of the second opportunity they've gotten. And so far, feel like he's done an adequate job of that, to say the least, and hopefully he'll be able to improve this next year. A big impact to this team, though, was Jonathan Isaac going down with the ACL injury. If he doesn't tear up his knee, are the Magic even more competitive in the first round of the playoffs in the bubble? And now coming into this season, when you look at the timing of when Isaac tore up his knee, you're very likely not going to have him for much, if any, action this season. You might get him for a little bit, maybe as you get closer to the playoffs, but that's a guy that was a key cog and a key part of what the Magic did last year, and they're not going to have him at all. So where do they replace his production? Where do they replace his impact? And I just don't see that they're going to. Is Mo Bamba ever going to do anything? Certainly would be nice for this team if he could, but unfortunately at this point it doesn't look like he's going to. And their first-round pick, Cole Anthony, is he going to be NBA ready this year? Is he going to bring them something at the point guard position that, frankly, they need really badly? I don't know about all that. I don't think this is so much an indictment of the Orlando Magic doing things in the offseason that made them dramatically worse or that they exceedingly overperformed last year. I don't think this is a reflection of anything like that. But when I look at the Eastern Conference, and I specifically look at the Southeastern Division, and I look at teams like Washington and Atlanta and some of the moves that they made, big notable moves that they made, I think this is more of an instance of the Magic didn't get worse. The others around them just got better, in some cases sizably better, and I just happen to like those teams better. So when I look at Orlando, they finished, 33-40 last year? I think they're going to be a similar type of team this time, somewhere around 32 wins. So they'll be in the mix, in the playoff race, but I ultimately think they'll be on the outside looking in. Some changes certainly afoot for Washington, and I got to say it's going to be really weird to think about the Washington Wizards not being associated with John Wall anymore. I know he's been out with injuries and so forth the past couple of seasons, but still going to be really weird, especially seeing him suit up in a Houston Rockets uniform. That is going to be odd. That will take some time to get used to and adjust to. And this team obviously made the big trade, sending off John Wall to the Houston Rockets, and in return getting Brody, Russell Westbrook himself. So now you're talking about you're trading away a point guard you didn't get squat out of the last 2 seasons to bring in a guy, a former league MVP, a guy that can score, a guy that can do a lot of things. Sometimes not always play under control, mind you. But certainly you would think, in theory, that you're going to get more out of a Russell Westbrook this year playing next to a Bradley Beal than you would have with a John Wall. So in the short term, at least, this deal seems like a decent get and a decent win for the Wizards. Would I rather pay John Wall that much money, or would I rather pay Russell Westbrook? I think right now the answer is easy and obvious. It's Russell Westbrook. So now you bring him into the fold with a Bradley Beal, who averaged, I think, almost 30 points a game last season. Now you've got 2 legit type of stars that you've brought into the fold. That's not a small thing for the Wizards. That makes them better and makes them better significantly right away. Not to mention you've also got Bradley Beal entering a contract year. This guy's, you would expect, is going to be poised to play really well because he's going to want to get paid. He's going to want to get supermax money, whatever the case might be. So, I don't think motivation is going to be any problem with him. And then you've got Hachimura entering his second season. Certainly thought he did well for himself as a rookie. Now you bring Russell Westbrook into the fold, and it allows Hachimura to develop more into like a really solid number 3 type of option. Like, this Wizards team got better just making that one big move. And then the drafting of Denny Avdia, like, that's who I wanted the Bulls to take. That's who I think a couple of teams that selected ahead of the Washington Wizards are going to regret passing on. As you look at Avdia, this is a guy that's NBA ready right now. This is a guy that can play multiple positions. He could defend multiple positions. He can do a lot of different things offensively with a shot that's continuously improving. Like, I like the upside for the Wizards here this year. When you talk about a 25-win team last year, like, how much are they going to really improve? I think this maybe makes them a 500 team, which in the East is probably enough to get them the 7th or 8th seed in the playoffs. But they should certainly be more fun and interesting to watch this year, that's for sure. And I do think they're improved, but I don't think they're as improved as the next team in my rankings. It feels really risky to pick a Hawks team that won 20 games last year to double that win total this year. Yeah, it feels risky and feels like I'm getting caught up in the moment of, putting too much stock into the moves that they made and so forth. And I very well could be. But I look at this Atlanta team and I absolutely agree that this is a team that, unless something dramatically goes wrong, they're going to be in the playoffs this year. Because they didn't just make moves. They got better. They got a lot better along with the young core that they already have. Like, you've got a franchise player, you could argue, in Trae Young, all-star guy that could put up 30 on a given night. Like, you've got a foundational building block piece right there. And then you throw a John Collins into the mix, assuming that he'll be able to play more games this year. John Collins is a legit number 2 type of, stretch 3-4, or even stretch 4-5 if you want to. Who still has upside and room to grow and improve. So you look right there, like, that's a really good building block. And sometimes it just takes time with those guys to allow them to develop and grow and mature as players, hone their skills and figure out the chemistry of how to work together. And then once you start to see results, you start to see results dramatically. And you've also got those other young pieces in the fold. You've got DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. You've got Huerter. And then you talk about who they took 6 overall in Okongwu. Like, for a team that really struggled to defend last year, the drafting of Okongwu, assuming that he'll be healthy when the season starts and be able to contribute, like, this gives them a big man with versatility on the defensive end that can help out on the pick and roll situations, that can come out and defend on the wing when needed, that will be a decent shot blocker, great rebounder. Like, I really like the young talent that Atlanta has assembled over the past couple of seasons. And then you throw into the mix the acquisitions of guys like Danilo Gallinari and Rajon Rondo and Bogdanovich. Like, these are legit NBA players, NBA starters. Rondo bringing championship experience. Gallinari helped lead a Oklahoma City Thunder team that nobody had expectations for last year to the playoffs. Bogdanovich brings them another weapon, another shooter, another scorer. Like, you look at this Atlanta team, and they could damn near go 10 deep. Like, this is a legit squad. So, on the one hand, where I start to say, like, am I overrating their moves too much? Am I thinking too much about it? Gallinari, even at 32, is still a really good player. Rondo will bring leadership, and he'll bring somebody that can help Trae Young play off the ball a little bit. And you talk about some of these other guys that they've drafted high in recent years or in the first round in recent years. And you talk about if Hunter takes a step forward and Reddish and Huerter, like, this team is going to be good, young, exciting, competitive, a playoff team that you worry about facing potentially in the first round. So, yeah, I don't feel that bad about saying that the Hawks, to me, are poised to make a turnaround and a big turnaround and put themselves somewhere around the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. As much as I could talk about the Wizards' improvement and I could talk about the Hawks and how much they've improved, it's still clearly obvious that the Miami Heat are the class of this division. I mean, they won this division last year by 11 games and certainly haven't done anything to hurt themselves in the offseason. You know what I mean? So let's be clear. the Miami Heat are the runaway favorites to win this Southeast Division, and I would assume they do so. And while the margin will likely be a little bit smaller than last year, it still should be by a relatively comfortable amount. This could be a Miami Heat team that pushes to 50 wins, although I think they fall just a little bit short of that. But you're talking about a team that should, in theory, have a lot of momentum for itself coming off of last season and how that finished in the bubble. This is a team that really figured it out, took advantage of that momentum and key guys stepping up and playing out of their gourds, like a Tyler Hero, for example, taking advantage of favorable matchups that they got in the playoffs, such as the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, you still have Jimmy Butler there as kind of your alpha to a degree, although I wish he would be a little more alpha a little more often. Sometimes he had a tendency to disappear, but in the regular season, it might not matter as much. Assuming that they'll have Goran Dragic back and have him healthy for the course of the season, like, that's only going to help this team be even better. You've still got Bam Adebayo, one of the more exciting young big men in the league. Tyler Hero, I've already referenced. Like, this was a kid, for those teams that sit there and fall into the kind of late end of the lottery, just outside of the lottery every year, and you say, hey, we're always out of position. Then you look at a guy like this, a Tyler Hero, and you say, okay, I don't always feel so bad. Like, you can get those types of guys in the draft still, and you absolutely can. You've got Duncan Robinson and Kendrick Nunn, who played great for them last year in place of Goran Dragic. Like, this is a good Miami team, a really good Miami team. I think the one thing to be cautious of a little bit, though, is, was last year a reality? Because you also got to remember that this team was a middle-of-the-road playoff team in the Eastern Conference that took advantage of the situation, figured it out, took advantage of matchups, took advantage of all of that, and they made it to the NBA Finals. It took the Lakers to 6 games, so hats off to them. But are they really, really that good? And the reality is I don't think they are. I don't think they're one of the elite teams in the East. Again, I think they're somewhere in the 3 to 5 range in that conference as much as anything else. They'll still be clearly good enough to win this division. And, frankly, based off of last year's experience, like, even if you get to the playoffs this upcoming season and you're talking about you're playing in front of fans, this is still a Miami Heat team that I do not want to face because they have the confidence of knowing they can get there. Other teams in the East like Milwaukee, Boston, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, as a team as they're currently constructed, don't have the confidence that they can do that. The Miami Heat do, which can certainly make them dangerous. But I would expect them to make some noise in the playoffs, but I don't think we're going to get a repeat of last season at all. There you have it, my preview for this upcoming season for the NBA Southeast Division. You, as always, are welcome to give me your reactions to my thoughts and insights in the comments section below. You're also welcome to give me your predictions. Again, smash that subscribe button. Let your friends know. Check this guy out. He's going to be talking more NBA stuff, and if he's anywhere near as crazy as he is when it comes to the NFL, we're in for a fun ride this year. Yeah! Next up, I'm going to shift over to the Western Conference, and I'm going to talk about the Pacific Division. Yeehaw! So we're going to talk about LeBron and the Lake Show.